Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today, we are discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 7, Episode 22, Tacking into the Wind. As the body count starts to mount, all parties try to seize the upper hand in the war. So, basically, more war stuff happened.
That's true.
But I think this episode was more significant than the ones that came before it.
Why do you say that?
Well, we had two deaths, one of a very major character.
Oh man, Gowron was stabbed by Worf.
Stabbed twice.
Double stab.
Yeah, double stabbed.
He had it coming.
Yeah, he did. It was really stupid of him to get into that situation. Because in Apocalypse Rising, Worf almost killed Gowron. When the Mortok changeling was making the Klingons go angry and they were undercover as Klingons, trying to assassinate Gowron. So, a few years ago, Worf could take Gowron pretty easily. Since then, Gowron's been in a political position and Worf's been doing loads of missions.
He's leveled up. Meanwhile, Gowron has stagnated.
He did better this time. He almost got Worf, but Worf is just very quick at stabbing.
He knocked him through the glass for a sweet shot.
Yep, a classic shot. You can tell things are serious when people fall through glass. It doesn't even happen very much on Star Trek because they don't have much glass.
Yeah.
Probably the only glass on the entire station.
That storyline confused me at first, and that's because I thought Gowron was just an idiot and he didn't know what he was doing, so I was confused. And then I was relieved when, oh, this is all political maneuvering. This makes more sense. I'm glad it's not just him being stupid.
He kind of was being stupid, though.
Yeah, stupid in trying to pull that off, but I'd rather have that kind of stupidity rather than military strategy stupidity because they're Klingons and that's their bread and butter.
He was being stupid in a global sense, but in a local sense, he wasn't being stupid, really. He was forwarding his own agenda.
Yeah.
Just maybe it wasn't quite the time or the place to do that.
There's a giant war going on. He thought he could slip by. People have other concerns.
It didn't work. I think he was kind of being stupid. He overstepped his bounds.
He thought he was protected by the honor loophole that Esri pointed out. I love that conversation, by the way.
She ripped the Empire apart.
It's a glaring problem. As long as your actions don't look like cowardice, you're good, and you can get away with anything.
She got Worf to agree as well.
Oh, I also really like that conversation because Esri, I forgot what they're talking about. I think it's Martok saying she's in the house, and then she says it's cute, and then he's disturbed, obviously, and then she says, "Oh, it's honorable,"
It's sweet.
And then he says, "That's better, albeit a little obvious." And I wouldn't expect Worf to have that kind of awareness. I expected him to say, "Oh, well said," or something. They played it as a joke, but I thought they would go the obvious way with it.
When you get touches of self-awareness like that right near the end, it seems like the writer's just slipping in a few things because it's finishing up soon and they just want to lay a few things to rest. Like, yeah, we know Klingons say honor all the time. Really need some synonyms for that.
And it's such a well worn pattern. I'm glad to know they know.
It sometimes feels a bit like Dragon Ball Z power levels. Oh, what's your honor level? Well, I'm even more honorable than you. So with the death of Gowron, the command of the Klingon Empire fell on Worf's shoulders, who abdicated 40 seconds later.
The shortest reign, probably.
Perhaps, yes. I don't think it really counts. I don't think you can rule an empire for 40 seconds.
Why not?
Technically, he did.
I think he did. I think it should count. He should be in the scrolls. Do Klingons have scrolls where they keep this data?
It sounds like the sort of thing they do, yeah. Or maybe like engravings or something. Probably statues. I imagine they have lots of sort of Baroque artwork that explains the history.
Maybe he'll have a really tiny statue. He'll be an action figure. The 40-second reign.
No, that sounds like the 42nd. Thus, the new leader of the Klingon Empire is Martok.
Hail Martok.
Somehow, it seems good, but I'm a little cynical that due to Sisko's actions, his best friend now runs an empire. I'm not saying Sisko planned this, but it's a bit suspicious, isn't it?
He is the most qualified. Who else? Who would you suggest?
No one. Martok's the right guy to do it. It's just that odd that Sisko makes this Klingon friend, and we've discussed that Sisko does like to keep his friends close. A few years later, that guy's running the Klingon Empire, and Sisko's running half the Federation. He's like one of their chief tacticians for the war.
Sisko is an unstoppable force, and if you go along with the ride, you are going to reach new heights as well.
If anything, he's more Klingon than any of them. He's competent, very capable in battle. He has very strict moral code, and he's
yelling all the time.
Well, yeah, okay. He's loyal to his friends, almost to a fault.
Absolutely.
But one downside, you can see his ears.
That's why they won't allow him in.
Into the Klingon species.
Yeah.
Okay.
He applied.
He's not Klingon.
He got rejected. That's why he's so mad. He really wants to be a Klingon.
Well, he's chums with Martok, so he's quids in with the Klingon Empire.
That's why he enjoys leading the Bajorans as the emissary, because he's not Bajoran, and so he's practicing for when he will rule the Klingon Empire as an outsider.
He has his finger in every pie. Turned up like the first day on Deep Space Nine, he becomes Bajoran Jesus. And a little spark inside of him says, hey, it's not that hard to become the leader of an entire species.
It's all practice.
Maybe reading a little bit too much into this. But I do want to note that Sisko gave Worf permission to deal with the situation. I believe he said, do whatever it takes.
That is murder.
He didn't say, I don't care if you murder Gowron in cold blood. But...
No, he needs plausible deniability. I only said to do whatever. I didn't say to kill him.
But now he's dead. What can you do?
Oh well, you can't undead him.
They probably can do that, but I'm sure they'll just flush him out the nearest airlock.
Oh, I bet Bashir would have no qualms with cloning him.
Oh, God.
Oh, you need another Gowron? Here you go. Have two, in case one of them dies again.
Don't joke about cloning leaders in front of the Klingons. There's a Next Generation episode where something similar to what you just said happens. it's a bit of a sore spot for Worf and Gowron. Well, not for Gowron anymore.
Yep, he's dead.
Speaking of people who are dead now,
Nice.
what a transition. Rousseau was shot dead by Damar. Also, Damar's family died. It's probably good that Rousseau died. He was terrible at his job.
Didn't take criticism well. Didn't understand that Kira is awesome. So many faults.
Kira beat the pip out of him.
Yes, I love when she beats up Cardassians.
There's a lot of fights in Star Trek, but whenever it's Kira beating someone up, I don't know if it's just Nana Visitor gives it about 2000% effort or something, but it really looks violent when she is beating on someone.
It looks so brutal. I love it.
She beat up Damar, and he learned, don't cross her again. Here, Rousseau was on the other end of her beating, and he didn't back down, and now he's dead.
How did you not learn from that beating?
I don't know. And Garrick even had her back anyway.
I love after she beat up Rasat, Garrick emerges from the shadows.
He's just hanging about in the shadows. That's what he does.
And then he suggests murder. By the way, you should kill that guy.
That's typical Garrick. Maybe he didn't even see the fight. He just sort of emerged from the shadows and said, hey, you should kill Rousseau. Just thinking might be a good idea.
Oh, what? You guys are fighting? I was just, talking.
Told you so.
I was making conversation. But yes, it's very Garrick. It wasn't out of place at all, but it's so funny to see.
He was creeping around and found Odo in his sort of puff pastry state.
I take issue with that. I understand the dramatic need for us to see Odo all ragged, but isn't that bucket time? Wouldn't he want to be in a bucket if he's feeling so weary?
His fragmentation is consistent with the time Garrick tortured him and he couldn't morph into a liquid. So I'm assuming it's something to do... Well, I don't know. You can't really say he should do that because he's a fictional creature with incredibly bizarre properties that have no real basis in science as we know it. So you can't then say, hey, but it should be A rather than B, because you don't know.
But I do know. No, I don't. I do like seeing him like that. It looks cool. They did a great job with the makeup.
Oh, yes.
But it doesn't make sense that his hair is like that. Wouldn't it take more effort to shapeshift individual strands? Why would he be all disheveled? I like the parts that are all melty looking.
I didn't notice what was different about his hair, if anything.
It's just roughed up.
Okay, he does.
Instead of slicked back.
His hair, I know it looks like sort of Ken doll hair, like one solid plastic unit, but it is individual hairs. It always has been. He's when he had a tantrum in his quarters because of Shakar liking Kira, his hair was ruffled up then. But I guess I don't know if it's the complexity of the shape he's mimicking or just the amount of times he changes. It seemed like the latter. And I would like to add, I 100% like how they recovered from the glaring plot problem that Odo was suddenly getting ill.
Oh, right, because of the shapeshifting, and he rarely shapeshifted compared to Founders.
Yeah, we don't know how often the Founders do it, but probably all the time. Or reasonably often, because they sort of despise humanoid form.
Right.
That's the kind of glaring problem where anyone watching it would say, hang on, how come he gets ill now? And they totally did a 180 on that and said, well, here's a completely justified and believable reason.
I wasn't even expecting an explanation for that. I was fine with it before. It is a problem, but whatever. But it is nice that they addressed it.
Yeah, it's not actually a problem. I could have lived without it as well. It's just nice that they took the time to think of something very clever.
So that plot line made me think of a horribly depressing plot line they could do. And that's
Oh, yes.
so Bashir and O'Brien are trying for a cure. We know that. They're on a mission. What if Odo dies, they don't find out, and they continue on this mission, and they set in motion a plan to get a cure. They go through all this trouble, but then he's dead this whole time, and we know, but they don't know.
Yeah, and Bashir could die too. And O'Brien could be like, we finally got the cure at great cost.
Oh,
Oh no, everyone's dead. I'm O'Brien.
And then his
Just another
glasses
day
break,
for me.
and he can't read books.
What?
You know that Twilight Zone episode where the guy who wants to be left alone to read, and then he breaks his glasses? I imagine that guy as O'Brien now.
Because a bad thing happened. O'Brien is a little bit crafty.
He came up with a good plan.
It's a good first step. I wouldn't really call it a plan.
Yeah, a good first step.
Bashir and O'Brien seem like a couple of goofs from a comedy film at the moment, saying, oh yeah, hey, we'll get Section 31 here, then we'll just capture him. Because goodness knows we're great at capturing spies.
We'll set up a giant mousetrap.
Snap him in half.
Keep the one half with the mouth alive, and then interrogate him.
I would say my confidence in them is high because O'Brien is just competent and Bashir is very smart. But their plan was, let's lure them here and then sort of
see what happens.
Just riff it from there. Improvise.
Making this up as I go along.
Well, simple plans are good. And this one is almost devilishly simple. They've got to start being the bad guys, kind of, by lying about curing genocide. I don't know how bad that is, but it seems like they're going into the moral grey area. I think we've covered most things, apart from the very tense and very exciting infiltration mission.
One thing confused me about that. So, do the Jem'Hadar not know what Damar looks like?
Well, the Cardassians look the same to them, because they're racist.
Okay.
Well, do you know, can you recognize one Jem'Hadar from the other?
Yeah, some of them. But if one of them turned out really bad, and you showed me an image and said, look out for this one Jem'Hadar, I would study the features of that image.
The Vorta didn't know what he looked like either. Maybe his face is not widely known, I don't know.
Wouldn't they want to make it widely known?
Yeah, he's been on broadcasts and stuff that makes no sense. Okay, maybe there's a lot of Cardassians that look just like Damar.
He has a common face.
Well, you get the same thing amongst humans, right? Some groups of humans look more similar to each other than other groups. There's different levels of diversity.
Okay.
I'm not going to start naming groups here, but maybe Damar has a genetic heritage that means there's a lot of Cardassians that look very similar to Damar.
All right, but they want to capture Damar. It's really important that they find this guy. They would want his face would be everywhere.
Maybe half of them look like Damar.
So it's just not possible to stop every other Cardassian and confirm whether he's Damar.
Well, here's a better explanation. Maybe they just weren't expecting to see him there.
Hiding in plain sight.
Well, walking around on a heavily fortified Dominion installation. They're probably doing spot checks on Cardassia and searching other probable places. I don't think they're looking through their own space stations and stuff.
All right, I buy that.
There was a special guest appearance.
There was?
Yes. By Kitty Swink as Luaran, the voter.
And who is Kitty Swink?
Why, of course, it's the wife of Armin Shimmerman.
Oh, okay.
She appeared previously ages ago. Remember when all those flaky guys came through the wormhole and they wanted to go to Bajor, and then Cisco was like, no, don't go to Bajor, that's a stupid
Yes.
idea. And the Bajoran minister came along and said, yeah, don't come to Bajor, we'll blow you up if you come here.
Yeah.
That was her. And now she's a Vorta. It's not actually the same character, but same actress.
Shimmerman wasn't even in this episode, was he?
Nope. But luckily, he's not actually a Ferengi and does let his wife work in his absence.
I'm glad you went the work angle and didn't talk about clothing.
But there weren't any Ferengi in this episode. We don't need to open that barrel. The whole infiltration mission, especially with Kira answering the call, I thought it was all very exciting. And I think it's great to see Kira being awesome. She's awesome all the time, but now she's like solving practical problems and doing stuff, sort of edge of the seat stuff.
Yeah, thinking on her feet, being pressed for time, making tough decisions, risking her life, changing her cadence to imitate a Vorta.
She's a strong character, and I think she's strongest when the situation is crazy. Although I think she pushed Damar way too far when she kind of made fun of Cardassia for killing his family.
Well, she got complimented by Garrick. I like that scene a lot because you see it slowly turning on her face. She knows where Damar is going with his language, and then she can't keep herself from saying something.
It's a wonderfully shot scene. The dialogue was almost as strong as the bits without dialogue. The acting was good. I think that's what I mean by that.
Yeah.
Kira just walks in, Damar is just motionless. We've said many times it's very hard to care about characters that have never appeared on screen, especially ones that have never been mentioned before, really. I felt it was quite effective. Having Damar's family's deaths were sadder than they could have been considering they're non-characters.
It worked for me too, and I think it's because of the arc that Damar has had and how he wants a better Cardassia. He's trying to do the right thing, and then his family is part of that too, and they aren't participants in the war, so then it seems cruel for them to be murdered.
It's absolutely cruel. They're trying to make him make a mistake.
He's turned a new leaf and he's trying to do a good thing, and then this horrible thing happens.
Like Garrick says, this could just steal his determination. Do you have a quote from this episode that you'd like to share with us?
Great men do not seek power. They have power thrust upon them.
Interesting. I didn't think you'd pick that.
Did you think I would pick Damar has a certain romanticism about the past? He could use a dose of cold water.
No. I didn't have something in mind. I just,
There's a quote in there that made me think of you specifically.
oh yes.
Yeah. So did this make you angry when Bashir said every puzzle has a solution?
Yes.
Yeah, because there are impossible puzzles. I don't know why he said that.
You can prove that there are things that don't have proofs. Look up Gödel's incompleteness theorem.
Okay.
There's some layering of proofs that proves certain things are unprovable. I can't quite remember it, but yeah, tons of puzzles don't have solutions. Or do have solutions, but you can never find them. That's even worse.
It's so weird to hear that come out of Bashir's mouth.
He's speaking practically. Every problem has a solution. Instead they don't. He's wrong. Back to the quote at hand.
All right.
Great men do not seek power, they have it thrust upon them like a jacket.
Indeed. So every single elected official has never been great because they all sought the power.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, sure.
You would have to be a sociopath to think you're worthy of controlling a country or a county or a large number of people.
Oh, for sure. I always think about that because of presidential elections here. Who thinks they should just run 300 million people? That's insane.
If you look at presidents or candidates, but specifically the ones that win, there's a lot of egomania and other fairly unsightly things going on. I know Lyndon B. Johnson was quite intense as a person and quite a big fan of himself.
I think you have to be.
Yeah, of course. I mean, he was an effective leader. At the same time, though, I think that these kind of people who want power, yeah, you can look at the cream of the crop in that category and say, oh, yeah, well, there are some pretty good leaders there. But maybe there's better leaders out there that just don't want the job.
Like Frodo.
Yep.
Power was thrust upon him. He didn't seek it. He didn't want it at all.
I guess. How many people exactly did he lead? Just Sam? I think Cisco is a better example. He was a washed out commander whose wife had died, and he got dumped in some butt end of the galaxy on a derelict station, and they said, look, sort out this intractable political problem, whatever. He's only a commander, he wasn't even a captain. They just shuffled him off to what essentially was a desk job. And then a lot of circumstances happened, and he ended up in quite an important position. And Starfleet have told him before they probably would have got rid of him if he wasn't Space Jesus. He's sort of locked in that position. And he's a really good leader.
He is, and all of that is true. But I do think he seeks power now. I think
he's got a taste for it.
Yeah.
In his defense, he is very good at what he does, so I can understand why he'd want to be the guy doing it. But maybe that just plays back into you'd have to be a sociopath to want to be a leader.
And he is totally a sociopath.
No, well, kind of. Sometimes I would agree, sometimes not.
I don't think you can be a great leader without being a sociopath. I'm going with that.
It's probably just part of the nature of having to make difficult decisions. You're never going to make a decision which impacts people negatively unless you are a little bit kind of detached. Or I guess you could, and then cry a lot and resign. But when you're leading a large number of people, pretty soon you're going to have to make a choice where there's no good answer for everyone. And to do that sort of thing and just be like, yeah, hey, it's fine. I picked the best choice, don't worry. That requires a level of emotional detachment, I think. Especially if you're the kind of person that wants to be in that position.
Yeah, if you're too invested in that, you would unravel.
Which actually does happen to quite a lot of politicians and stuff. Shall we move on to the next exciting episode?
Yes, we should.
Good idea. Let's go.
You just complimented yourself. You sociopath, you should be a leader.